This is the one I made in the video, and there's a little picture of me there. I can't really see it. But so this is the hinge. Just a little bit about the Mastermyr Hinge. It's actually from a box, from a toolbox that was discovered, and I will show you guys the wiki page so you can get an idea of um, what the history of this thing is. Present now, yes. Um, Allow. So this is the chest, and you can see what was amazing about this thing is that it's like Christmas Day for blacksmiths. Um, Everything that's in that content list was in this box. Um, and originally, they dated it to 1000, but they're dating it a little further because of some of the things that were in the box itself. Um, so this is, let me see, there's some drawings of it. No, that's not it. Hang on. Yeah, so this is the box itself. And while there's only one extent hinge on it, the assumption is there was at least two, possibly three, to keep the lid on this thing. Um, there are some drawings of it from the front and from the side. It was a magical find because, and you can see the hinge drawn out on the box here, um, because of what was found in it. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm done presenting. Anyhow, so basically, so I made this hinge, and it's not a hard hinge to make. And Ragnar, if you want to start the video, I can. Was there sound in the video, or was it no sound?
No sound. So
Okay.
if you can stop presenting, I will start presenting.
Hold on, I'm stopping. Okay.
All right. 1 second.
So once the video starts, we can. And I said, if anybody has questions, just go ahead and say. So the two pieces of this hinge were made from, and I think you'll see it in a second.
Do you want me to start it now?
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. So one piece of 3/8 square and one piece of 3/16 by 3/4 flat stock. The 3/8 square is 6 inches. And basically, I guesstimate 3 inches for the flat part of what we call the cup, which is the rounded part, and 3 inches for the actual rounded part. And I go long on the flat piece so it's easier to work with. So what I first did here is started flattening out the 3/8 square to match up with the 3/4 inch flat, so that they'll match as hinges. Um, and I used the rounding side of my hammer to do that. Um, and you'll see I'm sort of staggering. It's weird. Uh, but and then I flip over the hammer to use the flat side to keep the side straight and uniform. It took a couple of heats to get this done, and that's measuring it against the flat. Um, and I believe so. So I marked on the anvil 3 inches, so I know how long I needed to extend that out for the plate. Well, actually, it's the cup plate. The plate is the thing that goes on the back. I only found out that that's called the cup recently. I just called it the bendy thing. There's a lot of technical terms in blacksmithing. So that's me hammering stuff. Also thinning it out too. I'm trying to get down from the 3/8 to the 3/6, at least equal to the 3/16 piece, so they're uniform. And again, using the flat to make the shape. So that's there. I am at the 3 inches, and then I flipped it. Oh, I guess not yet. So a little bit more. I think once I got it to the 3, I widened it out a little bit so that it was uniform. A couple more times, or at least one more time. That's our anvil Odin, by the way. It would be better if there was sound because you hear the ting, ting, ting. So that's about where it needs to be. So then I flipped it around and I start drawing out the other side, basically taking it down to about half the width of the 3/8 and tapering the end, because what the end is going to be the flip on the end of the loop. So I taper that down and reduce the size of that straight part. But I'm using the flat side of the hammer here so that I'm not spreading the steel and just taking it down in width. And cleaning up the sides as we go. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So here I am working the end, tapering it down. I try to get it pretty thin because I use a little small pair of well, there's the finished piece. So now I take the flat and I start rounding the edges, because when we make this into a circle, it's much harder to take down the edges once we've uh, drifted the hole. So I take down the edges first, the corners, and get that relatively round. So once we start drifting the hole, it'll be easier to make it round.
So are you rounding it out because you for stylistic, or is it to make sure that for like a connection later on?
Well, no, that's the part that's going to get drifted to the in the hole for the hinge, for the whole part. I don't know if people can see me. So, and then I clean up the end there a little bit. That's very slow. I don't work that slow. And then I flatten it out, get it clean. And clean off the scale. Always clean off your scale. So that's the corners taken down a little bit. So now what I do is I take a metal punch and I center it at the end there, which is where we're going to drift the hole. So I give it a nice shot because once you heat it up, it's kind of hard to find that hole. So I center that. I think there's a little there. So there's a little punch hole. So now, for those of you who don't know, that's an anvil vise or hook or press or something. It's a wonderful piece of tool that allows you to work on the piece you're working on without having to hold it in place. And I made that. You need a tool, you make a tool. So this is me using the drift, punch drift to start the hole. And always cool off your punch after you use it. And there's the beginning of the drifted hole. And it's a wonderful tool there. Also, always never punch twice if you can avoid it. Punch, take it out, look at your hole, give it a chance to see what you're working on, and then go back and punch again. This is the reason why I left the piece long, so that I can work with it and hold it. If I cut it to size, it would be really hard to work. And you can see the plug on the back. Once you start drifting the hole, you should get to a point where the plug can be knocked out from the other side, which we'll get to in a second. I actually cleaned it up so you can see it better.
We have a comment. Woodworkers referred to them as a holdfast.
Okay, it does actually hold fast. It is actually, it has an actual name, and I do know what that name is, but at the moment I can't remember it. Blacksmith's helper, I think. Actually, I think that is what it's called. So that's, you can see the plug on the inside, and now you can see the more visible plug on the outside or on the backside. So this is what we call sacrificial steel. We put that on the anvil so when we punch through, we don't punch through onto our nice anvil. And just any piece of steel will do. So as you're getting closer to the other side of the hole, you want to definitely put one of those on your anvil so you don't punch through. If you need to punch through, the table, which is the little piece in front where I just put the punch, is not steel, it's cast. So if you need to punch there, you can. So that's me. So that was me punching through the man, I can't even speak today. Through the other side, and you'll see the and to punch through, we use the Pritchell hole, which is the small hole in the back of the anvil. It's wonderful for punching holes. You can see where it's punched, just started to punch through. So now I'll flip it and punch back through the other way, which I didn't get on camera. So now what I'm going to do is use the drift to make the hole bigger using the Pritchell hole. And then eventually, when it's big enough, I'll move it to the horn of the anvil to start opening the hole more. But you can see I'm sinking the hole further. And then flipping it and doing it the other way. And then just flattening it out and keeping it straight. So you can see how the hole is coming along. And you can see how when I took down the corners, now it's much closer to round than it would have been. And now I would have had to spend time trying to take those corners down. So this is like in slow motion. Not supposed to be in slow motion, but I guess it's the internet. But anyway, so yeah, I worked it on the end of the horn, moving it back and forth, and basically just rotating it. And as you rotate it on the horn, hitting it on the outside, it opens up the inside, and that's the trick to opening it up, is basically hitting it on the outside so the inside does the work.
We have a question. By flipping it, are you also keeping any burrs from the edge of the hole?
Well, if you punch the hole cleanly, there generally aren't too many burrs, but it does. Excuse me. It definitely does round out the inside. Also, flipping it keeps it symmetrical, which is important.
Why are you making the hole so big?
Who was that?
Well, I'll repeat the question. Why were you making the hole so big for this?
Because that's the hinge part. So that's the hinge. So now I'm measuring the width of the plate against the width of the cup, so that they'll be the same. And then I hot cut that on the hot cut. And I took the hot piece and dropped it into the quench, not on the floor. And then I basically just flatten it out, get it square again. And the rough edge, I wind up hand filing. I do a little bit with the hammer just to get it cleaned up, but I'll hand file all the edges and everything once it's done. So that's it. So now I think the next thing is putting in the nail holes. So I used again a punch to just set where the holes are, and I basically eyeballed them across each of the two pieces. Well, it's very thin metal, so if it was thicker metal, it wouldn't have been. But it's really thin, so the force of hitting it just bent it because it was hot. But it's not a big deal.
How many holes were you planning to do for this?
Just two on each. So you can see where the punches are. And I use a square punch to punch the holes. And I used again the Pritchell hole to punch them. Because the steel is so thin, it pretty much goes through on the first hit. And I flatten it out. And then I'll heat it up and flip it over and then punch it through the other side. I'm glad I didn't have to do this while I was talking.
I do see the difficulty that you're having now that you've like cut the piece down to when it was at length before, where you could like really hold it down.
Yeah, you know. Tongs are good, but tongs suck. So you can see there's a hole. I think I just filmed doing the 2 holes on this one, and then did the 2 holes on the other one off camera just to save time. So, any other questions? So there you go. So they're the holes. I got it caught on my glove. I need new gloves.
So we have a question: are you sizing your holes to a nail, or are you going to the forge to forge the nail to the hole that you punched?
That hole basically is just a kind of just sort of standard size. You can it will fit a forged nail, which is the point.
So, but But realistically, are you like eyeballing that hole, or are you trying to go to like a certain diameter on your punch?
No, it's well, I eyeball it, but that's where the size that I punch it is that size. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know how else to. I that punch to me is the punch I use to punch the hole, and the nails I've made fit through that hole. Because remember the forged nails tend to they are tapered, so tapered to a head. So that's me doing the flip of the cup. I see Tanook's taking us outside. And so there's the flip. So now I'll the next thing is when I do the recurve, I quench the flip so that I can hit it and then bend it on the horn. Now, what I did do is I definitely overestimated on this one the length of the cup, so it went a little long. But I basically I put it back and then I closed it up again and basically just made the flip a little bigger and it closed down to the right size.
Another question. So question? I assume you're using mild steel nails and clenching them.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then next question. Oh,
Actually, I quench the the nail part, but I don't quench the head.
and then another question. Why are you making a flip?
Oh, just because.
So stylistic. That's just your style.
Yeah, that's my choice. You don't have to do the flip. You could do it without the flip. I like it, and because it's a decorative hinge, it gives a little bit of flair to the hinge because that's the part that sits on top of the chest. So that's me closing up the whole the thing. What I did is I closed it, then I opened it up a little bit, slid it in, and then closed it again. This is me filing the holes to get down any burrs and stuff, cleaning it up. So I went in and cleaned up the holes, and then I used a larger file to take down the edges and clean up the ends on both sides. I mean, the finish work is, you can finish these as much as you like. I like hammer marks, and I like it to look like it's handmade. So I don't do a lot of finish work on the period stuff. If it's something I'm selling to somebody or it's something that's supposed to be new, then obviously, we put it on the belt grinder and wire wheel, and we powder coat things. But for the SCA stuff, I like to leave it as raw as possible. People tend to like it better. So this is me cleaning up the end. Scarred hands of a blacksmith. So just taking down the corners just to, I mean, you don't have to, but it's going to be on a chest that somebody's going to touch. It's nice to have no sharp corners. And then I dealt with the uneven hot cut. It was much more smooth when I was doing it. And it would have been more impressive with sound. You would have heard me cursing and things. So then I took some 40 grit sandpaper and took down just the whatever schmutz was on it, and just to clean it up a little bit. There wasn't a lot of scale on it, but you know, there's always some even after you wire brush. So I used the 40 to take it down.
There's a comment. The wire wheel is your friend. Is there a reason why you didn't use a wire wheel for this? Or you just
because because when I'm trying with something like this, I try to do it all with hand tools because we're doing period stuff here. Believe me, if you could see behind over my right shoulder, you'll see the drill press with the wire wheel in it. So you can seal it. We have sealed stuff with beeswax, but then you got to heat it up. And what we found was this wonderful concoction of carnauba oil and beeswax, which you can spread on the piece and let it dry, wipe it off, and it's a wonderful period type seal, and you don't have to worry about rusting, and it's also food safe. So yeah, so actually I missed after the 40 grit, I actually used a 1000 grit on it just to clean it up a little bit and hit some of the highlights.
Can you give the name of that wax that you're using? Some people missed the bottle.
Yeah, hang on a second. I can pull up the video. I can go to it.
Well, actually, I can go back. You know what? I'll go back a little bit.
Yeah. We'll post it at the end.
Yeah.
I got it at Lowe's. They have it. Oh yeah, Butcher Block Conditioner by Howard. They have it at Lowe's, or I'm sure Home Depot also has it. It's great. So what you do is you wipe it all over, and then you let it sit for 20 minutes, and then with a dry rag you just wipe it off, and it's done. And it's great. I know people make their own concoctions of this using olive oil and beeswax or other kinds of oil. Any kind of oil and beeswax concoction works, and it keeps you from having to heat up the steel and rub beeswax all over it, and then it gets all over you, it gets all over your work, the table.
When you are applying the wax, do you prefer to warm the metal first, or does a cold application work fine?
If you're using straight beeswax, you have to heat it up, but only a little bit. The first time we did it, I heated it up and watched the wax just sizzle away. It just needs to be warm. So if you just use like a regular torch and just run it over the piece a couple of times, you can use the beeswax and it'll melt nice. With this, you don't have to. You can apply this cold. So that's kind of it. That's the hinge. And as you can see, it hinges. And that's that. We used beeswax for a long time. It was the go-to. And then I talked to a couple of people who were making their own concoctions. I was like, well, maybe that's available commercially, and it was. So that bottle has lasted quite some time, actually, because you only use a little bit, and I've had that bottle probably for about a year now. So it lasts, and it was like maybe $5. It wasn't expensive. So you can use beeswax. You can definitely use beeswax, and it's easily gettable. In the SCA, you can go to the Bee Folk people. They're wonderful. They sell blocks of beeswax. Yeah, but sealing it is good, and as you can see, once it's dried, it's great. Oh, and also do both sides. Don't just to one side.
And so once you do one application of, if you just use beeswax and you do one application of beeswax, how long will it protect your work for? Like, are you gonna have to keep applying beeswax?
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't have to reapply it unless you're like, I don't know, if it's like something that's wearing, like on this hinge. Actually,
Mhm.
this would probably wear the beeswax away at some point, just because it's just the wax. With the oil, it really gets into the steel, and it's a much thinner coating than the beeswax coating. Um, so I would I mean I recommend this now. This is the only thing we use. I have a very big block of beeswax in my shop. If anybody wants it, I would gladly send it to you. Any questions? It's yours. I'll ship it to you, brother. Okay. It's gigantic. It's like this big. Oh, you're very welcome. I hope people enjoyed it. I hope they learned something. If you're in the East Kingdom and you're a blacksmith, you should join the guild. And how many, Austin? How many people did we have at this thing?
Right now there are 27 people online.
Oh my God!
Yep.
That's amazing.
What if I'm not in the East Kingdom?
Daniel, moving to the East Kingdom. How do you join? When are you moving to the East Kingdom? Tell Daniel unmute himself. Oh, okay. Thank you. Go to the Facebook page and say you want to join, and I will admit you to the group. You have to answer 3 questions to cross the bridge. And which part of the East Kingdom are you moving to? Did he say where he was moving?
It says PEI. Oh, Prince Edward Island.
Oh, we don't have anybody up there right now, but we're actually trying to get some people up there. That's part of Tiamara, and we don't have anybody there yet. Oh, well, he's not a member of the guild. Tell him to join the guild. Tell him to reach out. Although now that everybody knows about us, I'm hoping that he will reach out to us and want to join, because we need somebody up there.
And yes, I did record this. I'm actually about to stop the recording now.